Well, it's Black Friday, and I decided to skip some deals at Menards and Walmart and all those places and head into the Boundary Waters for 5 days on a spearing / grouse hunting trip. And what I'm going to do is enter here at Fall Lake and possibly base camp on Ella Hall and do day trips up to Hoist Bay for spearing. For wilderness travel between October 1st and April 30th, you don't need to pay for a permit, but you still need one. And it's just a self-issued permit. So one permit stays with you while you're out, and the other one stays with the box at the entry point. And all the entry points have one of these. Isla's excited, as always, with these crazy trips that we go on. So we'll take a quick look at the gear. I got Isla's sleeping pad in here, my sleeping pad, sleeping bag, extra clothes. I got the 410 in case we jump into grouse on the 4-mile Portage. And a couple quick safety things. There's about 6 to 8 inches on Fall Lake right now, but with the early ice, obviously ice is never safe. If you were to go through, you can stick these in the ice. The spike pops out. Pull yourself up, get dry, put some dry clothes on. Within my sled, I do have more clothes, and they're in a dry bag. And when I'm going on the ice, I don't have this around my waist like I will on the 4-mile Portage. Rather, I'll just pull it behind me with my hand. And if I were to break through, that's free. I can hop out, come back here, get in the sled, get my dry stuff. There's, with this, it's actually raining right now. You can probably see the droplets on there. Hopefully this is kind of off and on and not too bad today. So this is definitely a first for me with winter camping. I packed the rain gear because I figured I might run into this. I've been checking the ice about every 7,500 yards or so, and we're averaging between 4.5 to 7 inches of ice. What was kind of freaky is back that way, about a half mile, it was actually open water, and it must have been from some strong winds that we had this past Monday. So I'm just staying kind of by shore here, but everything over here, if you can see the crack that ran along here, it's good solid ice, no doubt about it. Having these ice cleats has been a lifesaver. You don't slip or anything. And I just put everything right on the sled. Have my little ice picks handy, ready to rock and roll if anything were to happen. But the ice is solid. It's just a little sketchy walking out in the rain with all that water sitting on top of the ice. But I think already by the time 5-6 p.m. hits tonight, a lot of this is going to freeze over because we're going to drop down to about 15 degrees. Well, there's been a little change in plans. I hiked over to the Portage, the 4-mile Portage, and there's not a whole lot of snow on it. And if I were to try to make the trek to Ella Hall Lake, it would be really tough with this load. So I passed a nice little campsite on the way in on Fall Lake. And I think the plan is just going to be to set up camp there for the 4 nights and maybe do a little spearing there this afternoon and try to get up first thing tomorrow morning and make the trek to Hoist Bay. And it'll be nice because all I have to bring is my spearing shelter, spear, auger, a couple minnows, 410 of course. Should see a grouse on there somewhere. But I would just get really exhausted trying to pull Portage to the pack in the sled across a Portage that doesn't have a whole lot of snow. And of course, it's going to be wet snow. It's going to stick to the sled and make life miserable. So not quite what I planned on doing, but there's big pike in Fall Lake. Maybe I'll find one this afternoon. Stay tuned. Well, it's shortly after 3 p.m. right now, and I set up my speared over there for about an hour and a half. I didn't see anything, and it basically rained all day since I started hiking out here, and I have a ton of wet gear. And tonight there's a cold front that's moving in, so it's gonna get cold. Hopefully all this water on the ice freezes up. We're dealing with a solid 7 inches of ice everywhere, but I set up my little heater. And I have all my stuff drying in here, so hopefully we'll let that go for the next hour and let everything dry up nice. So here's the tent set up. Got all my food and Isla's food, Isla's bed ready to go, my sleeping bag, the dry clothes that I'll sleep in tonight. Well, it was a rainy day, this first day of winter camping, but sunsets like this, it makes it worthwhile. It's going to drop, the temperatures are going to drop for the rest of the trip, so hopefully we won't have to deal with any water issues and getting everything soaked. But on these trips, especially on these spearing trips, I like to bring live bait in, and the trick that I use to keep them live and not freezing up is I bring in a collapsible minnow bag. Got my big spearing decoys in there, and I picked up 1.5 dozen light northerns for tip-up fishing. But what I do is I cut this hole, I make the initial cut with the auger, and then I take my ice saw, open it up. We're finally going to get below freezing tonight, and this is going to freeze up, so I add a couple rocks to the minnow bag itself, and it's not going to freeze up that much tonight, but I don't want it freezing up on the Velcro. And I sink that in there so I put those in there so I can sink the minnow bag, and I just tie that off to my bucket. And then in the morning I can take my axe and just open it up, get them out, fill this up with water, throw probably 4 light northerns and a decoy minnow in here in the morning, and then toss it in there, throw it in the sled, and then make the truck to hoist bait. Drop, sit, wait, okay. So you remember when I said in Woodland Caribou that Isla never gets tired of fetching sticks? Well, she still hasn't. Drop it. Sit. Wait. Okay. She absolutely hates sitting out in the dark house spearing with me. She does not find that enjoyable at all. She'd rather be running around fetching sticks, flushing grouse. So when we have some downtime, I owe it to her. Plus it'll help her sleep good tonight, but I don't think that's going to be a problem. Speaking of sleeping tonight, That's the one drawback with these winter camping trips. The sunset tonight is like 4:18, so it means it's going to be dark around 4:50. And we're creeping up on that sunset time right now. But it's awesome. The only problem is you're stuck in the tent for 12, 13 hours. Hopefully tomorrow I can wake up early in the morning. I'm going to have everything packed and ready to go so I could head right into Hoist Bay. But that's still not going to be until 7 o'clock. That's going to be the first light. Well, it's shortly after 8 a.m. on Saturday morning. Got my gear all loaded up for the day trip to Hoist Bay. And the water that was on the ice yesterday, all that froze up real good. So we're in good shape for ice travel anyways today. We'll see how the Portage is. Again, I don't know what the snow conditions will be like. This is a cakewalk right now. But 4 miles of off and on snow and dirt and bog could be a challenge. But if I can get there in a couple of hours, get there by 10:30, that would be great. So we'll see, get a good day of spearing in. Hopefully the big one's around. Isla's excited. Oh yeah. All right, we'll check in when I shoot a grouse. Well, I just got to the Portage that would take you back to Ella Hall Lake. That's ultimately where I wanted to camp for the weekend. But there's no way with the snow conditions yesterday I would have been able to hold the sled back this far. But you can see here the timber wolves have been pretty active in this particular area. Isla, come here. Come here. Come here. Obviously there's a little melt going on, but those are pretty big pads. And Isla, they've been scent marking all over in here. So Isla knows there's something up out here. You gotta stay nice and close. We don't want you to become a little timberwolf appetizer, do we? No, we don't. So far, no grouse, but I'm surprised by the amount of deer sign there was right when I got onto 4 Mile Portage from Fall Lake. Now there's just been one. It seems like it could be a large buck. It's been walking right down the trail, and every once in a while it'll scrape. It's got big tracks, so I don't know. It's kind of interesting. I'm getting close to the lake now. You can see the trail's getting pretty narrow, but it's been really smooth sailing throughout the majority of it. A couple of logs to jump over. It's a nice scenic hike. Lots of red pines, balsam fir, lots of wolf sign. I've seen wolves use this as a travel corridor. There's been wolf sign, wolf tracks on probably 90% of the Portage, so kind of interesting. But I could see where they probably a pack, at least 3 or 4 wolves were yesterday, and probably right around the area today. And when we get to those areas with a lot of fresh sign, Isla's ears go back. She gets a little nervous, and then she starts following me. It's 11:30 now. Got set up about 15 minutes ago. Got a good lively decoy minnow. Got the old trusty red and white. Got some coffee. And finally getting around to breakfast. So probably got about 11:30, 12, 1, 2, 3. I'll spear for about 3.5 hours and then pack up and start heading back. It's just a long hike between the Portage and then hiking to where I'm at on Hoist Bay. It's probably about 5.5 miles. So I don't know. It took me almost 3 hours to get in. So I'll definitely be walking in the dark. So I won't have any shots at grouse tonight. Isla did flush one up into a tree. I heard it, but it was thick spruce, and I couldn't see where it went. Alright, well hopefully a 24-pounder comes by this afternoon, and I'll be happy. Alright, well, it's 2:30 right now, and basswood was painfully slow today. I only saw one small northern. The cold front did move in, so that could have affected the fishing. So I'll probably come back here in 2 days. I'll come back here on Monday for one final try. But beautiful area. All packed up and ready to go. I have a 3-hour hike back, so I figured I'll just take off at 2:30. It's going to be pretty dark by 4:45. I only have about 45 minutes to walk in the dark and get back to my nice cold tent. Sunday morning, and it pains me to admit it, but I lost all my minnows last night. There's a strap that comes across here, sinks that up so this doesn't pop open, and that came undone. So I lost my spearing decoys and all my light northerns for tip-up fishing, but that's okay. It was a sunny. It's about 10 o'clock right now. The sun was out in full force this morning, so I started drying everything. It's getting pretty clouded over at this point. There, I was all ready to go to Hoist Bay. So much for that. So Isla knows that it's grouse hunting mode right now. The beginning of the 4-mile portage is really nice. It's like 6 feet wide. Ooh, there's something back there to check out. But yesterday, along the entire length of it, I only cut 2 rough grouse tracks, which is a little disappointing. But today we're definitely going to be bushwhacking it and seeing what we come across. But part of it's the adventure too, and never knowing what you might find, like this. Well, getting off the beaten path and grouse hunting in the boundary waters is a lot of work, no doubt about that. The portages are nice, but once you want to get back and explore a little bit, be ready for a good workout, because it's thick. There's a lot of trees down, and it's slow going, no doubt about that, but it's fun. You never know what you're going to come across if you're into that kind of thing, I guess. Well, the sun is setting right now, and today, day 3, all I did was spend some time in the woods grouse hunting. I didn't mention it before, but there was actually a hole in my minnow container, and my first night out here, most of my minnows got away, except for the spearing minnow that I brought to basswood, along with 4 light northerns. Those are the smaller minnows that I put on the tip-ups. So today I just ran around the woods looking for grouse. Believe it or not, I didn't get any or see any. But I did go to Ely, and I picked up a couple. I patched my minnow container so they won't escape tonight, and picked up 2 big sucker minnows and a half dozen small minnows. And then tomorrow I'll try to get up early and make the hike over into Hoist Bay. So you can see here's where the railroad came in off the 4-mile portage back in the late 1800s, early 1900s. But Hoist Bay may have defeated me on day 1, but I got a different spot in mind, and I think I'll have an encounter with a big pike today. Let's see what happens. Well, I just got set up on basswood with the tip up. There's a nice healthy northern pike. There is a slot limit in effect out here. Everything 24 to 36 needs to go back, but that's a beautiful fish right there. And I already saw one in the spear hole too before I even put a sucker minnow down. But it's cold out here right now, and I think with this wind it's nasty. I think I'm just going to focus